Okay, we have reduced the sauces, or not the sauces, we made the reductions. We're about to make the sauces. So over here, first off, we had that reduction for the Hollandaise. That's the white wine mixture that we had. So I'm going to take that down. That's reduced down to about, not quite a cup. We won't be using all of that for our sauce. We'll strain that out. Set that off to the side. And then we need some clarified butter. Let's talk about clarified butter for a second. Question, can we make this sauce with whole butter? Yes, we can. But let's talk about clarified butter just for a second. So we've got basically three components to butter. We've got, when we melt the butter, we're going to have a kind of a whitish foam that comes to the top. That's a little bit of the whey, and also any impurities that might happen to be in the cream. So that comes to the top. Then in the middle will be pure butter fat, or the clarified butter. And then on the bottom, you'll see this white milky substance, and that is in fact milk solids, and also water that accumulates on the bottom. So we don't really want the water. That's going to add literally zero flavor whatsoever. And sometimes if we add whole butter to this mixture, we end up breaking the mixture. And we can talk about that in a second. Now, what we want to do is we want to take our egg yolks. Like I said, we have about 5 egg yolks right there. You'll have 4 or 5. We're going to put some reduction in there. We're going to put approximately, let's see, let's say we put maybe 1/3 of a cup of reduction in there. That's fine. We'll break that up. So now we're going to bring this over to our double boiler. So in a pan with just a little bit of water in it, lightly simmering, creating a steam bath. We're going to set this over the top. Now, this is, at this point, we're not going to be walking away from this at all. We got to definitely make sure that we are very, very attentive to this mixture. Okay, so I got to talk a little bit louder because it's going to get too noisy in here with me doing the whisking. So we want to whisk this rather vigorously over the double boiler. And you see it's starting to foam up a little bit. We're looking for a slight thickness as well, and a lemony colored type of mixture, and also an increase in volume, which is happening right away. If it looks like it's getting too hot, take it off the heat, keep stirring. We might see some cooked egg product around the perimeter if it looks like it's getting too hot. So far, so good. We'll go back. The bowl is relatively thin, so the cooling off and heating up will not take long at all. So back and forth. Definitely see, I think in the video, that it's definitely thickening up, which is a good sign. You'll see a variety of recipes for making Hollandaise sauce, but I think it's very, very important that we add some flavor other than the stereotypical lemon juice and heat, which comes from cayenne or maybe a little bit of Tabasco. So, you see this definitely thickening up right there? Oops, sorry. Right, definitely thickening up, right? Looking good. We have a nice steady steam going. I think we're done. So that was probably close to 2 minutes. And you can see we kind of went back and forth, almost like very, very lightly whipped cream. Let's take that off. All right. I'm going to bring this over here now. Now I'm going to do something because I'm by myself. Okay, so we're going to make a little nest here. My suggestion is try to get somebody to help you with this, but we're going to make a little nest. And maybe actually what we'll do is we'll go on the cutting board. It'll be a little less slick. We're going to set our bowl down into that nest because we want to be able to whisk in our clarified butter, right, at a steady stream. Now, the butter should be at a similar temperature to the egg yolk and reduction mixture. So maybe you need to be on this side, Marie, or no?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So go back and forth, start off slowly so we don't break or separate the hollandaise. This mixture is going to require approximately, I don't know, maybe approximately 12 ounces of butter, of clarified butter. And I'll make sure you get plenty of clarified butter to be able to do this once, maybe twice, in case there happens to be a mistake along the way. In essence, this is a warm mayonnaise, right? Adding, in this case, clarified butter to egg yolks, as opposed to adding some oil to egg yolks for flavoring when you're making a mayonnaise, a cold preparation. This is looking pretty good. I think that's probably fine. Thank you. That's pretty good. We don't want this to be super stiff. We want it to be somewhat runny. Now, I like to finish this with a little bit of fresh lemon juice. That's a half a lemon. That's probably good enough. Make sure those seeds don't get in there. Oop. And we can add either, this is Cholula, of course, but Tabasco is probably the most readily available. Add a little Cholula. A couple drops. Or you can add some cayenne pepper, again, for a little bit of heat. It's more of a background note. And one thing we haven't added at all is some salt, because we use unsalted butter. And we can also put a little bit of cracked black pepper in there. Don't need much because we have the heat coming from the, in this case, the Cholula. That's ready to go. All right, so clearly that's more than enough than what you're going to need for this preparation, but it's very, very difficult to make less. So that's a 4 to 5 egg yolk hollandaise, and we're going to serve that with some blanched and shocked asparagus. We're just going to take them and reheat them in the water that we use for our water bath. That won't take long. Okay, so here we go. That's ready to go right there. Drain those off really, really well. Oh, lost it. So we'll take some of the hollandaise sauce, go right over the top. That's good right there. We can also take a little bit of chopped parsley or some chive just to finish that off. That's a nice little side dish. And as I mentioned before when we were making the previous sauces, that it wasn't terribly uncommon to get your protein and get your side dishes literally on the side on a separate plate. And that's what this asparagus with the hollandaise would represent. So, I said we were going to make another sauce. Here's the reduction from that red wine mixture. So what we're going to do is we'll take some hollandaise sauce, pardon me, that's plenty. And then I want to take some of our reduction that I mentioned this was kind of on the sec side, almost completely dry. We'll take a little bit of that. I love the texture of the peppercorn and the shallots. I love that in there. We'll take that and we'll mix that together. Great color. We'll go over our steak. And again, this was not uncommon to be served on the side. We can take a little bit of fresh chopped tarragon to make sure that it's really just going to give it a kick right near the end. So those are our two sauces with regard to the Hollandaise sauce. Hollandaise and Bearnaise. With regard to Hollandaise, a couple quick notes. We shouldn't make this up too far ahead of time. It's one, it's very, very fragile. And two, we want to keep this at a kind of a warm spot, not terribly hot, not terribly cold. And the problem with that you might run into is that if you keep it for too long in a warm spot, you're definitely creating bacteria you're going to grow, because it's not cooked to 140 degrees and it's not being chilled down. So this mixture right here will only last for maybe a couple of hours during service. That's why it's important to have a little extra reduction on hand that you can continue to make hollandaise if you had to, maybe even have some egg yolks on the side that are separate. Now, if this should happen to break or separate, we would take, I don't know the time on the video, we would take an egg yolk, a separate egg yolk, in a bowl, add a little bit of reduction to it, one egg yolk of reduction, over the double boiler, start that, and then we would add our broken hollandaise into that mixture, right, off to the side, and it would rescue the hollandaise sauce. So you wouldn't have to make hollandaise from absolute start to finish. You could rescue the existing one. Okay, so a couple more sauces. We have one more sauce to make. That is a beurre blanc, and then we'll kind of recap everything that we did with regard to these four sauces. All right, so when we come back, beurre blanc with a piece of roasted halibut. See you in a couple of seconds.